to day one of the Grow Where You're Planted Conference for Military Families. I see that you're all excellent and you've put yourselves on mute and you're using the chat, so I'm glad that that's engaging for you today. And we'll get started here in just a moment. Okay, Joanna, I guess we are 1:30 my time, so 1:30 Pacific time. And the variety of folks we have in attendance today, it's something 30 where you are, maybe also, unless you're in Newfoundland, and then it's the top of the hour. But I wanted to welcome you all to the 2021 Grow Where You're Planted Conference for Military Families. This is day one of our second year of this event, and we're thrilled to have Bona Normando with us today as our second speaker of the day. If you joined us earlier this morning, thank you for attending, and I hope you enjoyed that. Just so you know, the session is being recorded, and we will be sending out an after conference email to all of you who have registered with the links to the recordings for these sessions. And so as you're joining, feel free to check the chat for some little questions that we might put in there. The chat options will be used also if you have questions throughout the session. We can certainly take a peek in there and keep monitoring that for any pressing or burning questions as we go. But without further ado, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce Bona to all of you, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about some of the fun things that I found in her bio, so you kind of get a feel for this incredible woman we have with us today. So Bona is a small town girl from the prairies, and she joined the Navy in Canada, Canadian Navy, at age of 17. And the thing that I love most about chatting with Bona as we led up to this conference is just the feeling of authenticity that I got from speaking to her, and I think that you'll feel that as well. And one of the things that she indicated in her bio is that her favorite pastime is collecting friends, and that she loves people. And so this sort of military lifestyle, I guess, suits you. You've had some pretty cool postings, and you have amazing friends literally all over the world. And I think that is something that as military families, we can embrace as one of the big positives that comes out of this lifestyle. So I love that Bona shared that with us in her bio. And this year, she began this passion project and launched a podcast called The Happier You. So Bona's going to share with us a little bit about that and a little bit about this journey to finding your happiness through sharing her journey with us. So welcome, Bona. Welcome, everybody. And I'm going to hand everything over to you now.
Awesome. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks for inviting me. Okay, so as Michelle said, my name is Bona Normando, and I started a passion project this year to find my happier, and it turned out to be a podcast called The Happier You. I was on a journey myself to find my own happiness, and I just decided that why not invite other people to come with me. So I firmly believe it's an inside job, and that we each have our own path, but we are stronger together, so we can do it together. All right, let's see how I do driving the boat here. Okay, so today what I want to do is take you, I want to get to know you a little bit better, and then I'm going to share a little bit about my journey and what I've learned from this whole experience. And then I want to do an activity with you and get you to acknowledge your own awesomeness, because let's be honest, it's great that I've had this adventure, but everybody wants to be a little bit happier, right? And then at the end, I'm going to invite you to start your own journey to find your happy. And of course, I loved that Michelle in the previous session referenced Brené Brown. You're going to see a few of her quotes here in my presentation today. I'm a big fan. But what we know matters. Sorry, what we know matters, but who we are matters more. And yeah, you'll see a lot of Brené Brown today, so bear with me. All right. Sometimes the bravest and most important thing you can do is just show up. So what I would like is to get to know, for us all to get to know each other a little bit better. So if you can, in the chat box, share with us the city and state or province, or I heard Alaska. So if you can share with us where you're coming in from today. I'm in Alexandria, Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C., but I'd love to know where you're coming in from. Hey, Isabel. Okay. Panama City, Florida, nice. Edmonton, nice. New York, California, Maryland, Oklahoma, Texas. Oh, I love San Antonio, Texas. Beautiful. Yellowknife, Northwest Territories, very cool. Awesome, you guys. Newfoundland and Labrador. Wow, this is awesome. We're all over the place. All over the place. That's great. The other thing I would like for you to share in the chat box is the last time you moved. So for me, this is actually our longest posting since we started moving around the country, or the continent, I guess. And we've been here since 2016. Oh, 2019, 2012, 2020. Oh, those of you that moved last year. Lots of you moved last year. Okay. So we're all in different phases of our move. We did, Brenda, we moved in the same time, that's right. And we're leaving at the same time too. So we're all in different stages of a move, and I just want to acknowledge that any part of a move is stressful, and we're all in different phases of it, but we've all been through the similar experiences. So, okay, one more thing I'm going to ask you to share with me in your chat box. This is awesome. I love this, you guys. Is I would like for you to tell me how you're feeling right now in 1 or 2 words. If you can share in the chat box, just take a check-in like we learned with the previous presenter, and like share with us, what are you feeling right now? Personally, my word is nervous. Tired, fair enough. Lots of tired. Okay, well, hopefully I'm going to bring lots of energy to this presentation and help out with that a little bit. Okay. Oh, I'm glad someone's excited. Good, good. Anyone else? It's okay to be shy. Curious, okay. Thanks, Allison. Awesome. Okay. So, oh, I said that was my last one. I have one more. Do you guys know how to show your reactions? If you can show me a hand or a check mark, if any of you are podcast listeners, if you've listened to a podcast before. We have a few podcast listeners. Oh, yeah. Cool. Awesome. It's totally okay if you're not. I am fairly new to them, I think, in the podcasting world, but I just think it's really interesting. As I talk about it, I'll try and explain a little bit more how I ended up there. Yeah, so my word is nervous, but I have to say, just this little interaction is really helping. I'm a connector, and so I feel connected to, more to you guys. Thanks, Brenda, that's sweet. Okay, so I'll give you a background story about how this all happened for me. So I had been feeling like something was missing from my life for a few years. I'm totally getting distracted by the chat. I had been feeling like something was missing in my life for a few years, and I wasn't unhappy. I just wasn't happy. And so in the fall of 2019, my friend Doris, who you see on the screen, and I decided to meet in Columbus, Ohio for a girls' weekend at a conference. We had no idea if the conference was going to be good or not, but we just needed a girl weekend. And so it actually was a fantastic conference. In the conference, one of the speakers asked a question. She had us break into groups, and she said, share with your group, what is the dream in your heart? And the friend to the left, she excitedly shared hers. The friend to the right excitedly shared hers. And they both turned to me, and I had this big nothing. I had this gaping hole because I didn't know what to answer. I didn't have an answer, and all I could do was cry because I panicked. I'm like, how do I not have a dream in my heart? Like, what kind of a person doesn't have a dream in their heart? And I sort of panicked and was quite upset with myself. I spent the rest of the morning trying to figure this out. And by lunchtime, I realized that I just needed to pull back and learn to love myself. And that's a hard thing to admit to people. And it sounds kind of weird, you know, in my 40s, and I don't really like or love myself. There's something going on here. So I came home from the conference, and I just set to work trying to figure this out. I just decided that I was going to listen to my inner voice and figure out who I was and what I wanted, and learn to get to know myself better so I could like myself better. And so I did that through meditation, reading different books, working out, and I journaled the whole experience. Previous to this, I was not a journaler, but I just decided it was kind of like just talking to myself and putting it all down, and I just listened. And one of the ways I found to listen was I decided to pull back from social media because I wanted to make sure that I was listening to my voice and no one else's, that I wasn't being influenced by what I thought I should like or what I should do. It was really about what is in my heart. And so that's basically, I came back from that conference, and that is, oh, I did something wrong here. That's what I decided was next for me. I did something wrong. Sorry, guys. Give me a second.
What's wrong?
I lost my speaker notes. Okay. So I came home from this conference, and I decided that, like this quote says, I either have to love it or change it. And so I decided to listen, and after the listening, I kid you not, October 21st, my journal entry said, you need to start a podcast and invite people to go on this journey with you. And then my next line was, okay, that's just crazy, that makes me nauseous, that's not for me, that's not what I want to do. But because I was in this 4 months of listening, I just listened. I just settled down and said, okay, don't worry, you don't have to make any decisions until January 1st. But as I continued on this journey through the fall, the message just kept getting reinforced and reinforced. And interestingly enough, I listened to a couple of podcasts, and then I read somebody's blog post about doing it your way, and don't let anyone tell you how to do it and what you have to do. If you want to share your voice your way. And that's when I thought, okay, I can do this. Then January 1st hit, and like any good girlfriend, I decided I need to run this through my friends first. So the idea was there, it scared me, and I was secretly hoping that they would tell me I was crazy and this wasn't a good idea. They did not. They fully supported it. They said, you have to do this, and it is totally you. Well, then I thought, okay, I'll run it by my husband because he'll kibosh this right away and just say, you've got so much going on. This is not something else we need to add to our lives. And you know what? He supported me, which totally blew me away. But I think he was so happy that I found something that I was excited about again. So this sort of period of just feeling lost, it came to an end. So I went on this journey of discovery because I had to learn a bunch of new things. And some of the stuff I had to learn was I had to build a website, I had to learn how to do a podcast, how to launch a podcast, what equipment do I need for a podcast. And as I'm doing all this training, the message just kept getting reinforced that it's about sharing your voice. It's about figuring out new things and just trying, learn and doing, right? So it's not going to be perfect. Yep, you're probably going to cringe when you listen to your first episode, but just go for it. And then it turned out, because I was doing all this research on podcasts, this advertisement showed up for this thing called PodFest. And the girlfriend you see there, she's on my cheer team, Jody, I was telling her there's this PodFest, it's 2 weeks before my launch date, it's perfect, but I have something else planned that weekend. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, I can't back out on this girls' weekend we have planned. And she said to me, well, you're right, absolutely. I don't think you should go. I think you should do it wrong for a year and then go next year and learn what you could have done better. And I hope you're giggling because that's a total girlfriend thing to say, right? And then she said to me, if you want me to come and hold your hand, I will. And so she did. I totally called in that favor, and she flew from the west coast of Canada down to Florida with me right before the world shut down for COVID. And that conference was a game changer for me. Vulnerability and rejection is my biggest fear. And so when we went to this PodFest, the two biggest messages that came across is your voice matters. And if you don't share your voice, then your message isn't getting out there and someone needs to hear your message. The second part of that, remember how I said rejection? the second message, very clear, was you're not for everyone, so don't worry about it. In fact, if you are for everyone, you're not doing it right. And so that just made rejection okay, because knowing going into this that you're not for everyone, this is not a popularity contest. You are sharing your voice and you are trying to reach those people who need to hear your message. So I have to say that conference was totally worth it. And every time I get nervous, I tell myself, remember, it's not about you. I have to say, the picture of the gentleman there is Pat Flynn, and he had online tools for how to start a podcast. He helped me build my website. This totally not techie girl, he was awesome. Okay, so today what I want to do is I want to get you to the point where you can acknowledge a little bit of awesomeness inside of you. So we are going to do an exercise, and I want you to think about a moment where you were really, really proud of yourself. I want you to think about, what did you do to get there? And what we're going to do is we're going to put you in breakout rooms, and you're going to share this experience with someone else. And the questions I want you to share with each other, you might want to write down those questions or take a picture of the screen. But basically, I wish I came up with this activity. I didn't. I was in a training session where somebody did this, and I just thought it was awesome. Remember a moment where you were proud of yourself. Now, here's the interesting thing. I was in a group with another lady, and mine was coming back from knee injury to knee surgery to running the biggest race of my life. And I was really, really proud of myself. I was in a room with a lady who just had come through a really awful divorce, and she came through it with her dignity intact. And so, you know, one was something I chose and one was something that she made it through, but it didn't matter. So what I'm trying to say is nothing is too small. We all have proud moments, and sometimes we just have to pause and remember them. But please share yours with the person you're going to be, or the people you're going to be in a breakout room with. We're going to go 3 or 4 per room. So we're going to give you about 12 minutes to share with each other, and then I want you to answer the question, what did you learn about yourself? What skills did you apply to achieve that moment? And then together as a group, I want you to come up with a few words to describe the person who achieved that. So one of the things, Joanna's going to brief you through the whole breakout room thing, but before I send you there is no video. So personal connection, human connection is better with visual, but we don't have that today. So just please introduce yourself and then share your experience with each other and help each other through the exercises to figure out the words, so then we can come back and share it all together. So I'm going to turn it over to Joanna to brief us all how to get there.
All right, so what's going to happen is once Bonna starts the breakout session, you each are going to get 2 pop-ups. When you get the 2 pop-ups, you're going to answer yes to them. And what that's going to do is it's going to put you into a separate room, and it's going to connect your audio into that separate room. Just make sure that you are unmuted when you get there. And once you get in, you'll be able to chit chat. And I think we'll end up giving you about 5 minutes, and then you'll get a message stating that it's time to come back.
All right. So you want me to start the breakout room?
Go right ahead.
Awesome. All right. Have fun, you guys. Is everybody back?
It looks like it. And sorry for anyone who somehow got dumped off on that. We were trying to fix it and couldn't.
I have to open up my chat box again. That's the part I lose.
Remember how to do it?
I thought I did, but it's not. Oh, wait. Ha. Okay. So can you guys just let me know in the chat box, we got 1 cry for help. Did everybody have somebody to talk to in their breakout rooms? Use the chat function, okay. Good. Okay, now my other question is oh no, Isabel, I'm so sorry. I hope you had a good chat with yourself though. Oh man. Oh my goodness. All right, well, I know you're all military spouses and you're all adaptable, so we are just going to, so can you share in the chat then, what are some of the words that you came up with of somebody who did that accomplishment that you were proud of?
Or, oh, brave.
Brave.
I was gonna say, if we have somebody who really just loves to talk and they want to
Absolutely,
share,
yes,
like
yes.
they can unmute and share too.
Lots of brave. Yeah, anybody wants to turn their mics on and share, that's cool too. Courage, resiliency, inspiring, focused, tireless. Lots of brave, I agree. Any more? That's cool. You guys had a very similar experience to me when you didn't get to that. Well, that's okay. Hopefully you guys had a good chat. So what I wanted to remind you is that that's inside of you, and it's there for you to acknowledge whenever you want. So that's what I found when I did this exercise, was that I was like, yeah, that's inside of me, and I need to remember is how to tap into it. So I love that you came up with a lot of the same words that we did when we did this exercise: courageous, brave. You know, one of the girls put warrior. I have one more question for you. How many of you, when you were doing this exercise, how many of you felt those feelings? How many of you, you know, like that tingly excitement inside of you of that moment when you realized how proud you were of yourself? Did anybody actually go back to that moment and physically feel those feelings? Did anybody get that? Again, if you want to take yourselves off mute, please feel free to share with us. Nice, Allison. It's okay if you didn't. When we did our session like this, yes, proud of the stories you heard. I love that. Thank you, Elizabeth. It's so true. You know, it's like watching one of those Hallmark commercials, right? Like you really just start to feel for the people, and you feel proud of the person you're in the breakout room with, right? Because it really, we all get different situations, but those amazing courage and brave and dedication, all of that is inside of you. So I really love this exercise, and if you write down that moment and write down those feelings, then it's a resource for you to go back to when you're feeling, you know, not so brave and not so courageous and maybe not so dedicated, right? We all go through those ups and downs, but this is a resource for you to remember that that's inside of you. And Brenda, I love what you said. I find it hard to acknowledge my own proud moments. I agree with you. In fact, I did this with my mom, and it took a little bit of coaching for her to realize that she has done a ton of things to be proud of, but it's not something that's natural to us to concentrate on and think about. I'm a constant analyzer. Something happens, I analyze what happened. How did I get there? How did I feel? So when Michelle McIsaac was talking in the previous training, you know, when she said, how does that make you feel? I'm one of those people who I always, you know, I'm like, oh, there's a knot in my stomach. What's going on? What is happening to me in this scenario? But I have learned so much over the past year that that's not normal for everybody. And it is definitely a skill to be able to check in with yourself and figure that out. So hopefully you enjoyed that exercise. I'm really sorry, Isabel, that you were all on your own. Yeah, so I apologize. This whole breakout room in WebEx is new to us. So, okay. This next quote, you'll notice I'm a bit of a quote junkie. So this one is powerful. Joy does not simply happen to us. We have to choose joy and keep choosing it every day. Henry Nouwen, and Joanna was telling me he's one of her favorite people. I have to say, that picture, you guys, whoever put that picture with that quote, that puppy makes me smile every time. it just makes me feel good. Like, you know, we were talking about things that make you feel good earlier, make you happy. You know, baby animals are adorable. Experts say that we have around 77,000 thoughts per day, and most of those are negative. So part of being happier is choosing happier thoughts and making that decision every day to look for the positive as opposed to the negative. And trust me, the negative is natural. It's just the way, for some reason, that we've been raised. But choosing joy doesn't just happen. And I love that quote. It is something that we have to choose. One of the things that we found in our house this year, because I literally launched the podcast, it was supposed to launch basically the day the world shut down. And I have to say, there was this whole crisis for me. Why me? I can't talk about happy when the world is going through this big thing. But another girlfriend, I have great friends. You're going to realize that in all my stories. I have great friends who support, but they also kick me in the butt when I need it. And she said to me, yeah, get over it. COVID's happening and people need a positive message. So get over yourself and just get on with business. And so I did. And what happened is the focus in our house has been happy and positive for the last 10 months. And it's been an amazing journey because our conversations at the breakfast table, at the supper table, it is often about what is this next podcast going to be? What do my husband and son think about this? And really these conversations about, you know, does this make sense? How could we apply this to our family? So I always joke because I don't know if you've heard of the book 10% Happier by Dan Harris, but I am easily 10% happier than I was at this time last year. And that's crazy to think about. Don't get me wrong. I have absolutely been on the emotional roller coaster that is COVID-19, ups and downs all over the place. But what I found is this year I found a lot more tools. And I used a lot of them this year. And as a family, we used a lot of them. The thing I really like, and this is important, is that the podcast has kept me accountable to my listeners. So let me tell you, I did not always feel happy through this whole year. I did not always feel worthy. I had major fear of why me? Why am I doing this? Why now? There's so much going on. But every time that podcast came up, I had to do it. I had to sit down and come up with something and share what I was learning, what I was feeling with my listeners. And so I am so grateful that I chose this goal this year because it changed the whole focus of our family. So again, it's that whole choosing every day to be happier, to choose happier. It has really worked for us. But I always like to emphasize this is what it's been for me. And I think everybody has their own happiness journey. Everybody's happy looks different. Part of what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to convince people to find their own happy, but let's do it together. Let's make a community of people with positive peer pressure where we look for the positive instead of the negative. And I think that's so, so important nowadays. Another Brene Brown quote, what can I say? Again, I love them all, so I'll quit saying how much I love them. But let go of who you think you're supposed to be and embrace who you are. This was absolutely, this explains the year for me. And so what I wanted to do is just quickly share with you some of the biggest lessons I learned while I was doing the podcast this year. The first one was joy and gratitude. And I did the Marie Kondo thing. I'd love to see a show of hands. Has anybody else done Marie Kondo? I did all the clothes on my bed. Nice, ladies. All the clothes on my bed, and I held them all, and it was exhausting. Did anybody else find it exhausting? Like, I finished the day, yeah, decluttering. I'm with you, Isabel, especially when we're prepping for a move year, right? I ended that day completely exhausted. But what I loved from the experience is that easily a few hundred times, if not 1,000, it felt like 1,000, I held on to things and said, does this bring me joy? And basically what it did is it created this skill or this muscle because I did it so many times that day. And then what I found is after that, I would look at things and think, why is that in my house? It doesn't bring me joy. And so I started noticing things and I started bringing to the forefront things that bring me joy. And that supported the gratitude habit, which is another thing that was a big part of this journey this year, is being grateful and being grateful for all the little things and nothing. And I love how when Michelle was asking the question before we started about what makes you happy, there are so many small things in the world that you can allow to bring joy into your life. The more you notice them, the more they fill up. And you know, I was talking about those 77,000 thoughts. The more gratitude that you have, the more positive those thoughts become, and you start shifting that they're more to positive than to the negative, which is amazing. Celebrating the small wins. I really love this one because life is a journey, and my happiness has been a journey, and it's about celebrating all the small wins. So there's not actually a destination. There is not a point where we hit a button and say, I have hit 100% happy. It's going to be up and down, but learning to celebrate all the little wins along the way is a big part of happiness, I believe anyways. And I have to say, I've learned to do that really well, I think. And I'll share with you in the podcast when we did this subject, Celebrating the Small Wins, it's been sometimes it's embarrassing, but I wanted to share how basic my challenge was. So we did a 30-day challenge, and mine was to floss. I was a terrible flosser. And James Clear says you take a habit and then you break it down to less than 2 minutes, and you do that and you celebrate. And you know, I had my winning streak and everything, and I tracked it. And I chose flossing, and literally, I mean, flossing probably in itself takes less than 2 minutes, but I always fought it. And so I decided that every day I was going to floss, and even if it was only one tooth, it didn't matter. That would be more than I did the year before. And it worked, and I celebrated. I am now a flosser. I can identify with someone who flosses every day. And I know that sounds crazy and small, but it's a great example of just celebrating the little things. Like, I am proud of myself that I'm a flosser. This is something that I have fought for 45 years of my life. So yeah, I really like that one. Creativity and play, that again, a big one came from Brene Brown and her guideposts to wholehearted living. And I am one of those people who had an art scar, and I'm not creative. I always said I'm not creative. And so when she talked about enjoying the process and not necessarily the outcome, and letting go of the outcome, and there's so many positive things that come from creativity and play that I learned that I have to schedule those back into my life. And I've been having great fun with this, you guys. There's so many mental positives that come from this. Stuart Brown is one of the foremost researchers on play, and he says the definition, the opposite to work. So the opposite to play is not work. The opposite to play is depression. And so it just speaks to how powerful playing is. And so we as a family have most definitely added that back into our lives. The last one is acceptance. And I have to say, when Michelle introduced me and said I came across as authentic, that is the biggest compliment for me, because one of the things that I have really learned to do this year, I told you I was trying to learn how to love myself. And I think love and acceptance go together. And so I have learned to love and accept myself, or I'm still working on the love part, to love and accept myself for all my flaws and just show up as who I am and not worry about trying to fit in. I am a recovering bitter inner people pleaser. And I have to say, this is such a freeing situation, or a freeing experience, to start to really like and be who I am all the time. So those are the main lessons that I've learned doing the podcast. So there's me in my fancy podcast booth, which is also known as a closet. No makeup or anything. That's really what I look like when I'm doing my podcast. And I just wanted to share this with you because like I said, I want to invite you to choose your own happiness journey. And if I've done my job today, I've actually hopefully inspired you to seek your happy. Maybe I've inspired you to start your own passion project. And if I'm really lucky, maybe I've inspired you to do both. So I had Joanna add some links in the chat for you, and those are the ones that are up on the screen. Basically, I just wanted to invite you to check it out and see if it's for you. If you're not a podcast listener, that's okay. I actually created this thinking about the non-podcast listeners. I really wanted to reach some of my family who is in rural Saskatchewan, who, you know, probably they didn't listen to podcasts before I started this. So you can listen to the podcast straight through the website. This year, I had someone challenge me to do a 21-day happiness challenge. So we started yesterday. We're taking February head on because I've always heard about the February blues. And I thought, what a great opportunity to share all these lessons that I've learned with people and challenge them to make their happiness their top focus for the first 21 days of February. So we only just started yesterday, and Joanna shared the link in there. So if you want to join, please click on the link. I will bring you up to speed. I'll send you, the resources and yesterday and today's challenges, and you can kick in and join us for the rest of the 21 days. Also, I'm going to ask you that this whole speaking thing is very different than being in a podcast booth. So if you have any direct feedback for me or any questions, Bonna@thehappieryou.net. I love to hear from people. So if you have anything that you'd like to share on how today went, if you have any advice, anything like that, that would be amazing. But those are basically, yeah, you can check us out on thehappieryou.net as well if you're not too worried about the 21-day happiness challenge. And then I just wanted to leave it open for any discussion or questions if you guys have any. I'm here to answer. I love sharing this passion project. It's, like I said, it's been so amazing for me. I'm happy to share it with others.
Bonna, that was amazing. And Joanna just shared in the chat, and I'll reiterate here that we do have some time and we're going to stay on. So if anybody wants to just chat with us, we're going to stop the recording in just a moment. And you can share with us passion projects that maybe you're thinking about starting or how this impacted your day. I know some of you mentioned it brought you some energy and some light to your day. So again, from MFS US, Bonna, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence today and being a part of this these sessions that we're hosting. And thank you all for attending the second session of our first day of the GROW conference. So please feel free to unmute if you'd like and join us in conversation.